Yo, you only live twice. All hail King Jesus.
But I'm back with this caveman rocker. There's been wise in this. A witch just tried to cast a spell on me.
Yo, what is up, everybody? So this is Friday's Food for Thought, and this is going to be a good one because today's topic is about millennials and this really negative connotation that goes along with the generation that we have today considered the millennials. And I just want to give a news flash to everybody real quick. Actually, first, let me pause. Everybody, take 2 seconds before you finish this video and go check out corpsecollection.com, right? We got a lot of sales going on, and follow us on Instagram at Corpse Collection. That is KORPSX Collection, corpsecollection.com. Follow us, message us, DM us, let us know that you guys watch this video, and we'll give you guys a special shout out. But today's topic, like I said, is about millennials, and I need to give everybody a news flash, especially if you're like 35 and older, right? You guys want to talk about millennials and all this other crap? Yeah, you guys raised them, right? Especially if you're a parent of a millennial, you like how to talk about how they're so fucking entitled and how they're so privileged and all this, they're a bunch of crybabies and they just want a bunch of free shit. Like, you guys raised the millennials. You guys did this to them, right? I don't see anything wrong with the millennials, right? I think that millennials, because I am 25 years old, so I do fall into that bracket, right? I don't see anything wrong with our generation other than bad parenting, right? My generation suffered from a bunch of parents who signed their kids up for these, these sports programs that, as long as you try out, that everybody made the team. Or if you're on the team, then you get a chance to play. Like, every game you get a chance to play. Or, crap like that. We were the kids who were No Child Left Behind act, right? And I'm sorry, but I graduated with kids who didn't know how to tell time. I graduated with kids who could barely fucking read, okay? Like, I'm not the best speller. I'm no spelling bee champion. But, I know the basics of fucking spelling, and I know the basics of fucking reading, okay? And there was some kids who had no business graduating, right? And this isn't to knock them, because, school's not for everybody, and learning at the same rate isn't always the thing. But just because you're not good at school, doesn't give you the right to just, be socially promoted, right? Because once they enter the workforce, you don't get fucking social promotions, fam, right? Like, if you're over here cooking a steak, right? And I'm just doing basic remedial shit. If you're cooking a steak at Outback Steakhouse, right? And this person asks for it well done, but if you give it to him rare, right? Do you think the customer's just going to accept that shit? Fuck no. He's going to send it back on the plate still with the pulse still in it. Come on, fam. Like, and with these kids, these kids, especially like with the sports programs, like, I'm sorry, there's some kids who have no business playing football. They're just not built for it. They're not tough enough for it. You know what I mean? Because size isn't always the matter. But then there's some kids who are just too small to be playing football. Because you line them up across the line with some of these guys who are dogs. Brutal dogs or animals. And they obliterate these kids, right? And then you wonder why there's so many concussions in football, or you wonder why so many kids are getting hurt. You wonder why. You wonder why the rates of kids getting to the NFL is getting lower and lower and lower and lower. And us as adults wondering why the rules in the NFL are changing, right? We wonder why. It's not just to protect the players, but it's because some of these kids are some sissy la kids out there playing ball. Okay? So if anybody, right, and especially if you're an adult listening to this and you have kids who fall in the bracket of millennials, right? You need to look at yourself, and you need to take a second and smell the coffee and say, well, damn, I raised this little entitled piece of shit. You know, I gave them everything they wanted. I gave them the iPads, and I gave them the PlayStations, and I gave them the cell phones, and I gave them and gave them and gave them and gave them. Right? You know, I'm barely old enough to understand a life without a cell phone or a life without the internet. I am barely old enough, right? I was a young boy when the internet landed in my fucking living room. So I can only imagine as the generations continue and as life progresses, what we're going to be saying about our children. So before we ever pucker our lips to speak down on somebody, we need to take a hard look in the fucking mirror, dude. Like a really hard, long look in the mirror and say, what am I doing to fix this? Or what am I doing to prevent some of these behaviors? Because if we're not doing anything, and if we're not taking the necessary action so that kids understand the real world and real life, then all we're doing is letting them fail. And I'm sorry, we gotta stop dropping the ball on these children, and we gotta stop dropping the ball. And above all, we need to stop pointing fingers and putting blame on everybody else before we point a finger at ourselves and putting some blame on ourselves, right? I have a son who just turned 10 months old, and let me tell you something. If he grows up to be a little piece of shit, right, I'm gonna look at myself first and say, what did I do wrong, and how do I correct this? How do I fix this? And then I will look to him and say, son, we have some things to change. So Friday's food for thought, right? It's an easy one. It's about millennials and how they act and what we should do to fix it, right? Just take a long look at ourselves. These kids aren't so bad, right? So what? They want free health care. So what? So what? They want free education. It should be free. It should be free. If college education is the new high school, right? High school's public, it's free, right? So why isn't college free? If you have to go to college nowadays to get a job, why isn't it free like how high school was? Because high school was the standard of getting jobs, 20, 30 years ago. All you needed to do was graduate high school, boom, you can get a job. I get it. It's how you oppress the lower class. It's how you keep the poor people poor. I get it, right? It's a political move. But man, don't ever sit here and point at some kids and say that they're entitled. Nah, they're trying to get what they deserve. All right. So, millennials, let's take a second. Let's really put stuff into perspective. Can't talk right. But let's put things into perspective. Let's give these kids an honest fighting chance, right, to prove who they really are. Are some of these kids spoiled brats? Yeah, they are. But I think before we, condemn them to all this damn terminology we like to throw out there these days, I think we need to look at the parents and look at the root of the issue, right? Because the apple never falls too far from the tree, right? So this is Friday's Food for Thought. It's about millennials. Like I told you guys earlier, check out corpsecollection.com. That's KORPSX collection.com. You can also find us on Instagram, right? Give us a follow, DM us, let us know that you followed us and that you watched this video, right? And we'll give you a really special shout out. All right? Until next week. Later.